Whether he gets up the hill or not, I'm still actually not so sure. But it will be worth it for the ride of him being on the snap.
Jumping two out. Hello and welcome back to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel in association with Racing TV. You're watching our handicap entries reaction.
Oh, how exciting is that to say?
How exciting. Cannot wait. We're 3 weeks out from the Cheltenham Festival. In fact, when they're watching this, it'll be the Thursday morning. We'd have had the Supreme, we'd have had the Ballymore. How will we be feeling?
Well, probably a bit on the ropes, realistically, from a physical capacity, from a betting capacity, hopefully not in a bad way. You can never know. I'd always like to be ahead going into the Thursday, because Thursday's always a bloodbath.
Thursday, very difficult. Friday, also very difficult. But we do hope that we can have a look and find some winners. Yep. In the handicaps, or just horses of note in those entries. Now, before we start, we've got something to advertise, and that is the ultimate Cheltenham Festival guide. Paul Ferguson, what a man he is. He makes a brilliant book every single year. It's an absolute necessity for Cheltenham Festival fans, so much so that we can provide you with 4% off if you use the code LTR24CF. LTR24CF. Use the link in the description of this video. It's honestly unbelievable. I use it every year. You get all the stats. Everything you need to know is in one book, and it's an affordable price.
No, very much so. It's a fantastic book. Look, Paul does a fantastic job, and I think there's loads of different sections, as there was last year. We got great fun out of it. We got a few winners out of it as well, which was brilliant. And hopefully, and I assume, given obviously the people that are writing these books are of much more class and much more knowledge than me and you put together, that they will lead you in the right way.
Always seem to find winners. It comes out tomorrow, but that means that you can get £4 off if you were to purchase it before. I think you can pre-order it in advance. This is 25th edition this year, so very, very, very good resource. Please do go and get your copy. You will not regret it. I absolutely promise. I cannot wait for mine to come in the post. Now, also what we wanted to do is to talk about the preview night. We've got the preview night on the 7th of March in Birmingham at Scanlon's club. All the details are also going to be in the description, and you can buy tickets on the door. So people have pre-booked. They're limited tickets, but we've kind of reserved a few for people that turn up on the day.
How excited are you for that, Eve?
I think it's going to be really, really fun.
I couldn't wait to go back. Last year was just such good fun. Obviously great to see a few people there, but the place was packed. Obviously a slightly different venue this time round, but still some good personnel, great host, great people on the panel with us. I can't wait.
Yeah, good night to have a few beers and listen to Cheltenham chat. It's just great.
Oh, it's just fantastic. Like I can't believe I'm a part of it, really. It's a bit surreal.
There we go. We cannot wait for that night, and we cannot wait for the preview book. Please do go and use the code LTR24CF for £4 off the digital or print version, or the bundle if you wanted to get that for a family member. Anyway, if you do enjoy this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If we can hit 600 likes on this video, we'll make 2 videos next week leading up to the Cheltenham Festival. Cannot wait. Also, we're going to be making a video every day between the 29th and the Monday of the Cheltenham Festival. 13 videos with special guests.
This is our biggest undertaking yet, and I cannot wait for it. I know it's something that we've been kind of humming and hawing about maybe the last year or two. We've decided this year we're going to go all in, and that run up, you know, you see other YouTubers, they do Vlogmas. Christmas is no use to National Hunt fans.
No.
The middle of March is of use to National Hunt fans. That is our Christmas. That is our Christmas, and we are going to be leading up to it with a video every single day leading up.
So we cannot wait for that. Hopefully you get excited about it. But 600 likes on this video. We'll do 2 next week. Right. Now let's fire through every single one of the handicaps. We've highlighted a few runners that we feel we should talk about in those races, or notable runners. We'll start in the Ultima. I'll fire through a few names that are possibly of interest. Apple Away in there, Bron, Shanty Classical, Classic Getaway, Giovinco in there. I know the way you're thinking. James de Burle, Shamblu, the Goffer Theatre Man, a few others as well. Anything really stick out there?
Well, I think obviously the obvious one seems to be Chianti Classico. It's been well documented. Quite a lot of people have been very keen on his chances. He's obviously a short enough price for the race, but he does seem to have a lovely profile. Was second even at Kempton when Kim Bailey's horses were probably under a little bit of a cloud. It's a race I try not to get lured in by the Irish horses, because the Irish horses just do not win this race.
They never win it.
Does that stop me from getting lured in? No, it does not.
But does that not come in massively into the thinking?
It does have to. There are a few of interest. I would say a horse like the Goffer might be near enough top of my list, actually. I know he won the charity race at the stable staff race last week. I wouldn't look into that massively from a form perspective, but good to see him in good health. Obviously was fourth in the race last year. Was last year's Ultima the best Ultima we're almost ever going to have seen?
Be well up there, wouldn't it?
Like, you've got horses that are, national winners, Grade 1 winners. Third horse was very, well thought of in Mongbeg Genius. I think there was no disrespect in that. He could run a big race.
I agree. I think Chianti Classico is definitely of massive interest in that race. In the Boodles, a few interesting names in there. Batman, Girac, Cossack? Chak.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
Carla Conti could run here. Lark in the Morning, Milantino, Miss Manzoor, Mojo, Ego, and Darwi Nurgring. Why we've got
Mojo Ego.
I don't know why we've got him in there. But
I've never heard of that one.
But a few interesting horses.
What is that? That's an absolute rick in the system. How has he made the list?
Maybe that is.
I think it was meant to be Miss Manzoor.
Let's have a look. Mojo Ego.
I genuinely, this is live.
Harry Durham.
Very good.
Rated 117.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be winning it, no. I think he was a long shot to be in that list.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he's made the list.
But anyway, no, it's an interesting race. The Boodles is also always a very hard race to kind of get to the bottom of. Interesting, obviously, I made a very small but hopefully compelling case for Palamon last week.
He didn't make the list, but Mojo Ego did.
Yeah, I don't know how that's happened. A complete farce. But he is entered. He's been given an English rating of 121, so he should sneak in. Look, Lark in the Morning, I know he's fav, but he's an awful lot of the talk has to be around him. Is he not what he's cracked up to be, or is he just a snip? Like, I find it very hard. Some days I'm there going, well, he's just, like, his form is okay, but nothing better than that. Some days I go, well, he's going to be in off the low 120s. Is that not just something to really be interested in? Horse, I'm like, from the form obviously with Palamon, I'm interested in Endawi. I thought he was very impressive the last day. He'll go to this race. I thought he had a fair chance.
Yeah, I think he's probably better than definitely by the winning distance that day.
Yeah,
I don't really have an opinion on this race at the moment. The Coral Cup is interesting. Dottie the Great, Encanto Bruno, Langer Dan, Cada Bourbon, Sam Majest, Springwell Bay. Now I think the big talking point in this one is probably Sam Majest, because he's also entered in the Martin Pipe. I wouldn't want to be backing him non-runner no bet for the Martin Pipe. Sorry, I wouldn't want to not be backing him non-runner no bet for the Martin Pipe, because he's beaten Noble Yates, who's rated 154 off levels by 4 lengths. Surely he's not going to be rated low, like 145 or less.
Yeah, this is what I can't get. Like, they're not going to. I suspect they're not going to handicap him incredibly literally for that. But at the same time, they're not going to give him £9.
No.
Like, so I would assume he can't run in the Martin Pipe, but therefore he runs in this. I wouldn't like him for this race. I know he's the type of horse that could have plenty in hand, but there's been plenty of horses of similar profiles in years gone by that have gone to the Coral Cup. I remember Tombstone going off, I think 4-1, 5-1 for this race. It's a terrible race for a novice. Exactly. It's just, and I know Sam Majest is technically not a novice, but he's only ran twice in Ireland, so he's got very little, massive amounts of form to go on in the UK and Ireland. It's not the type of race I'd like a horse that's not massively battle hardened in. It's always a bit of a grueler.
That's the one thing that's holding me slightly back with Dottie the Great. I think he's really interesting of 132. I think he is a proper stayer, and I think he was top class as a novice.
Yes.
I think Henderson looked at him and thought this is going to be a Grade 1 novice chaser. Rated 132 now, ran a really interesting race in the Betfair Hurdle, finishing 4th, staying on. I think that he is definitely of interest up in trip.
But this is it, though. But at least with him, like, you can see that he's ran in something like a Betfair Hurdle. I take so much courage from the fact that he's ran in a race like that, has handled the hustle and bustle and ran on. Like, he ran a race that screamed, I am well handicapped, but also 2 miles is just too short.
Henderson knows how to win that race as well.
He is very much so. Your good friend Langerdans in this race. Obviously, we had a few comments pro our opinions on Langerdans, a few against.
Yeah.
He's very much clearly he's a Marmite horse. Either you've backed him and you've been on the train, or you're like myself and you're on the platform just waving and shouting expletives.
So there were a few comments, interestingly, on the video that were kind of saying, well, why are you giving out about Langerdan and Dan Skelton and not Willie getting Galopin des Champs in a Mountain Pipe of 142? I think it's different because
I couldn't say it better myself.
Langerdan reaches these heights, wins these big handicaps, goes up in the weights, and then drops that season, doesn't run any sort of race and goes into it. Where the Galopin des Champs was a horse who'd had 4 runs in Ireland or something like that, had been running over the wrong trip, and they kind of handicapped him professionally, if you know what I mean. Like, they ran him behind Appreciate It in the 2 mile grade 1 at the Dublin Racing Festival. Like, they were running him in the right races, like good races, and he just found himself.
But like it's very, very easy to forget with a horse like Galopin des Champs. Like, he ran in his first start in Ireland. He got beaten by C. Ducker of Arthur Moore's. He then went to Limerick on heavy ground and got pulled up. So, like, I think they were kind of scratching their head thinking they may have had a good horse, but he's not proving it. Like, it's the same with the people that were saying that Langerdan's the same as State Man. Like, State Man would have ran in the Supreme if he hadn't fallen at Christmas time, but he fell. Then they were like scrambling to get a maiden hurdle into him, and then obviously, like, if you're going to get given a 141 and you're sitting there on a 160, as it happens, State Man was 170 yours, but you're not going to take that away. My problem with Langerdan isn't necessarily the first season when they got him handicapped for the Imperial Cup. It's been the years now, the 2 years since, that you're there going, well, it's just blatant fiddling. Like, you're going around Exeter in a 5-runner 0 to 140 and finish beaten 25 lengths by a horse rated 125. Like, imagine trying to do that to Galopin des Champs or State Man now. Run him at Exeter in a 5-runner race, come last.
Yeah.
That's fiddling.
Yeah.
I don't like fiddling.
No. I think I like Doddy the Great.
Very good. I actually, of your fancies, I would very much be with you on Doddy the Great.
Grand Annual Time, a race I, excuse my French, fucking hate it. Cletus Dancing on My Own in there, I think interesting.
Cletus
Dancing
it's
on My Own.
As bad as Mojo Ego's going to be back in this thing.
Dancing on My Own, interesting if he was to run, because he won at Aintree, proper handicap form, kind of one of those horses that isn't a champion chase horse, but I think if you ran him in the race, he wouldn't be like horrifically bad. Could finish 4th or 5th in a race like that.
No, does need decent ground though.
Does need decent grounds. Phil Dudery, interesting. His chase mark is interesting, and they keep running him in like the Irish champion hurdle and races like that. There's a long-term plan with him. I'm absolutely sure of it. Just depends on what that is. Mascada, last year's winner, in there. My mate Mozzie possibly going to run. Saint Roy coming down the handicap. You were keen on him?
I was. I just think he's the type of horse that the Grand Annual may suit. He probably would want a bit of decent ground himself if they go hard in front, and he was able to stay in touch. He certainly has a class angle in this race. I think the last time he ran in he ran in the Dan Moore, but previous to that, the last time he ran in a handicap was the County Hurdle, which he obviously won very impressively.
Dancing on My Own, I think, is of interest to me at the moment. The Pertemps Final, interesting. Cletus Poulor. How do you say it again?
Cletus?
No, the next one.
Oh, Guay
Cool. There we go. Is that Irish?
No. It is, yeah.
Yeah, no. That's not something that I'm particularly good at.
No, she's an improving horse. Cletus Poulor, I suppose we should mention, just in terms of he isn't qualified yet. Now, he's entered in a qualifier this weekend. Do you think that Gordon has identified, obviously, the tragic circumstances with Absolute Notions, that they've maybe had to reroute a couple of horses? He's entered in it. A horse called Will Do is entered in it. I would much prefer Cletus Poulor. Will Do looks like the slowest horse on planet Earth. But he is something. Like, if he came 3rd or 4th on the weekend, he'd have to come into recognition, especially as a novice. He could be a graded novice chaser next year.
I think Gordon, and I'm not just saying this because I back the horse, I think he was, if Absolute Notions had qualified and gone there, he'd be rubbing his hands together going, I've got this in the bag. This is a proper horse. Not the greatest Pertemps Final in the world.
It's a poor Pertemps.
He's going to be very interesting. Doesn't have that anymore. Definitely would have rerouted a few. A Good Time Johnny, last year's winner in there. Highland, who qualified and won that Cheltenham race earlier on in the season. Icaralen, Springwell Bay, I think is interesting. White Rhino again, won at Cheltenham over 3 miles this season. Interesting, will do. Anything that really sticks out?
Not particularly. I'd always keep White Rhino on side. I just think he's the type of horse that is... I think he may still have something in hand from the handicapper. Not a massively big play, though.
The plate, adamantly chosen in there. Ashtree Meadow, Classic Getaway, Creeberly, Garlaw. Why is Garlaw running here? Sorry, why is he not running here? He's going to run in the Ryanair.
Yeah, I think they're going to supplement him for the Ryanair.
But he's not going to win a Ryanair.
No,
he's got a massive chance of winning this.
I understand that, but you get onto Jamie Stone. I've got his number. You just give him a call. Say, Jamie, you're making the wrong call.
I understand he'd be almost off top weight, but that is his level. He's a really good handicapper.
But I don't think top weights and kind of horses that have gone off big weights in this race have ran well in the past. It's a classy enough race. Yeah, I agree. Well, because he just... I look at the Ryanair, what chance does he have in a Ryanair?
No chance. James de Burley, Sarfareur, Shake 'em Up Harry, Theatre Man, a few interesting names in there. Honestly, I think Garlaw should be running here, but it doesn't look like he's going to, so it's pointless talking about it.
Is there a little bit of that, though, that's a little bit, yes, I backed Garlaw at trials day, and therefore I'm shrewd, and therefore
no, because
want him in the plate?
He's won over course and distance off a big weight, and that's the exact type of profile that you need for a race like this.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I said it last week about Theatre Man. I just really like that novices handicap at trials day. In years gone by, it has produced good winners. It's produced potential festival winners. Obviously, I've been told for days on end now by a pretty snippy Jake Price that he has no chance, and he started this mass gamble on this Creeberly that I really don't see the angle behind myself. He won an egg and spoon at Exeter the other day, and everyone suddenly got onto his back, even though the fact that the horse cannot jump. So I've taken him on. We've had a match bet between the two of us, Theatre Man versus Creeberly, and I'm on Theatre Man.
I think I'd rather back Theatre Man than that, and I don't really like him for the race. Kim
That's such a double edge.
Kim Muir time very quickly. Angel Dawn, Cool Survivor, Favoriti Champdu. If they can get him in this race of 145 or less, then he will be winning it. Yes. Good Time Johnny, Percival Legalwa, Wacker Clan. Interesting. Few entries there. Yeah,
no, liked Wacker Clan. Said it last week. I think he's got a good chance if he gets into the race. A lot revolves around Good Time Johnny here. If he can jump, which is a big if, he obviously has an enormous chance.
What about Percival Legalwa?
Also, enormous chance, but again, another horse that's jumping has been suspect. There's a few horses in here that do look very well handicapped. Between Good Time Johnny, Percival Legalwa, Wacker Clan, I don't see the English getting any luck in the Kim Muir, personally.
No. Then we're moving on to my two favourite handicaps, I think, at the Cheltenham Festival. The first being the county hurdle. Some really interesting entries in this one. Yeah. Absurd in there for Willie. Biley Stock, who came down at the Dublin Racing Festival. He's in there. Favour and Fortune, Iberico Lord in Post Trois, King of Kingsfield. No entry for King of Kingsfield in the Martin Pipe. Didn't see that one coming. Lure de Sud, Dan Skelton, brilliant record. Risk Bell, Zenta. This race is dominated by Willie and Dan. They've won 8 of the last 9 renewals. Is that just going to continue here with a horse like Lure de Sud or with a horse like Zenta?
You'd have to think they've got a very good chance. Yeah, Lure de Sud obviously was a big eye catcher in the Betfair hurdle. Looked like he was coming to win his race. I don't know whether that was his day or not. Skelton's handicappers sometimes defy me. I think that they've had their day potentially, but then they'll go on and win the county hurdle. He obviously won it with Favour last year, who I didn't fancy myself. Zenta ran a very eye-catching race at the Dublin Racing Festival. Bialystock, I thought was going to pay a major hand in that race before being brought down. But really, I do look at the race and go, that Grade 1 form, we've obviously been so keen on the likes of Ballyburn, Slade Steel. Fingers crossed for yourself, we'll run a huge race in the Barring Bingham, and we've got King of Kingsfield and Absurd as 3rd and 4th in that race. Well, what are you going on?
Carry on.
I'm just saying this. I hope he runs well. I want your selections to do well. It's good publicity for this.
You think he's got a chance?
Slade Steel,
King of Kingsfield.
Oh, King of Kingsfield in this. Yeah. Oh, he's a huge chance.
Do you think Slade Steele's got a chance?
I think Slade Steel will be in the 3. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
I don't think he'll win, though.
All right, you're steady.
But I think he'll be in the 3. I think King of Kingsfield has an enormous chance in this.
Really?
I'm really happy. I know you're not happy, but I'm really happy he's not in the Martin Pipe. I just think a 2-mile one, fastly run county hurdle. Oh,
be ridden off the pace.
Oh, Jack's going to be sitting on this thing coming down the hill, and he's going to be travelling all over them.
He is going to be travelling supremely well.
Whether he gets up the hill or not, I'm still actually not so sure. But it will be worth it for the ride of him being on the snap.
Jumping two out. He's going to be absolutely cantering.
I'm going to have a wet dream about him being at 2 out. Like, he's just going to be there. I know he will be there like that. And whether he'll get up the hill or not, but I'll take that chance.
He is interesting. I think him and Rispel
Well, let's not be... come on, you've gone on about this horse since the horse was born. We started this thing 3.5 years ago, and you're giving updates as he was a yearling, and yet he gets to the day where he might win his big race, and now you're going, I think he's a bit interesting.
I think he is interesting.
Stuck in?
Possibly. Possibly. It's a good race.
You're just sour grapes because he's not in the Martin Pie.
There's quite a few in there that I like. I like Rispel. I like Le Desert. I like Bailey Stock. I like Absurd. I love King of Kings.
Well, I'm really glad that you've narrowed it down.
Exactly. That's the issue. Right, the final handicap is the Martin Pipe. Gigoro, Langerdan, Lisnagar, Fortune, Cater Bourbon, Samajest, Search for Glory. A few interesting ones in there. I think we've got one here.
Well, you love Cater Custard Cream, don't you?
Well, I do like Cater Custard Cream. Rated 140, we've got a British mark of 140. That might change, but it's not going to go to 145 or above.
No.
He's 9-1. You can get 10-1 with Unibet. I think he's got a massive chance. I think that there is a possibility that Jigginstown looked at this race and said, why do we run King of Kingsfield here when we've got Cater Bourbon? I think he could be really well handicapped. He started in the maiden hurdle at Imperi Pass one last year. He's since won over 2 miles. He looks like a stayer to me. And I think he could be very interesting off 140 if he was to turn up here. Equally, Lisnagar Fortune, that form with Reed and Tommy Wrong.
Yeah.
And Staffordshire Knot looks really good. He's interesting. Sam Majest, I don't think will get in the race. Search for Glory would be interesting if he ran. I think he'd probably run in the Bartlett, though, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he'll struggle to get into it, to be honest.
Yeah, but...
And he needs 3 miles. Yeah, Lisnagar,
I like the Bourbon.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think he's got a very good chance. Lisnagar Fortune, I think, could well be a very well handicapped horse, but he kind of reminds me of like a Gentleman de Me or Adamantly Chosen in the race. That you think it's well handicapped, but he's just kind of like mentally immature. Like, he is a very good horse, but I just don't know whether he's Cheltenham ready yet. One I'd be interested in just of Gordon's lot is Jagoro. I kind of was pressing for him to be in kind of that little short list there. Just, I think he's ran some very interesting races. He's bumped into some good novices, ran a nice race behind Tully Hill. I think he needs to go up in trip. Whether he's just a chaser in time, whether he'll even go to Cheltenham, I don't know, but I would keep him on side wherever he goes.
Interesting. There we go. Every single handicap. Now, before we finish, we're going to put our final Ante Post selections up for the series. We're 3 weeks out. It wouldn't really be Ante Post if we did it in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. So this is going to be the final one. I want you to put up the remainder of your horses and take it away.
Well, I'm going to take a swipe on one here in the handicaps. Non-runner, no bet at this stage. I think it's probably wise, just because, especially with this horse, I'm not sure whether he'll get in decisively. He'll have gotten into, I think, 5 of the last 10 renewals. I've made a big case for him last week, made a smaller case this week. Whacker Clan for the Kim Muir. Generally 16-1. I think there is an outlier that goes 20-1. I think it is Unibet again, but realistically, an awful lot of people will only be able to get on at 16s. I think he's a very well handicapped horse. If he gets into the race, there's no way on earth that he's going off 16-1. He'll get a good jockey booking coming from Henry de Bromhead's yard. Henry has said that this is the plan. He's entered in a 2-mile handicap hurdle at Naas on Sunday. I quite actually like that in terms of he hasn't run obviously since October time. Just a bit of a cobwebs blown away, bit of a pipe opener. Obviously he's not going to win that type of a race, but I think there's a huge chance and a huge case to be made for this horse. Don't think Good Time Johnny jumps well enough to win a Kim Muir, Percival Legal was a huge danger. I'd openly admit that, but I think this horse equally is very well handicapped. 16-1, Whacker Clan for me.
You make a compelling case. I'm going to put up 2. One in the Coral Cup, and that is Dodie the Great, off 132. He's 12-1. Again, no bet. I think he is very interesting. I think he's a proper improver. We've seen him run in treacherous conditions in the Betfair Hurdle in a big field. He stayed on, looked like a horse well handicapped. I think he's interesting at 12-1 for that race. Stapham Trip going to suit him perfectly. And then the big one, Quai de Bourbon, off 140, hopefully in the Martin Pipe, 9-1. I think he's going to go off favourite. I think he reminds me of that Dom Polly type going into the race. Mullins, Jigginstown novice hurdler, who's possibly going to be a top-class chaser down the line. Quai de Bourbon works for me at 9-1. So there we go. That's the end of our Ante Post series. How do you feel? I
feel good. It's always a bit emotional coming to the end of these Ante Post series. Yeah. But at the same time, we've now got 3 weeks of explicitly talking about Cheltenham. And I tell you, it actually gives me great feeling, because in work, what surprises me is that we're in the minority of people that actually prefer the jumps racing to the flat racing.
That flat is just...
Yeah, absolute goofers in work. But at the same time, over the next month, I'm literally walking around just on the complete wind-up and talking exclusively in Cheltenham terms. And I hope everyone else watching this is doing the same.
I hope you are. Let us know what you've been doing to your colleagues about the Cheltenham Festival, or if you're going to do anything nice. We want to hear your comments down below. We want to hear your handicappers. Don't forget, you can get £4 off your Paul Ferguson Cheltenham guide. It's the ultimate guide. Use the code LTR24CF, CF for Cheltenham Festival.
Do you reckon Paul has Mojo Ego in there somewhere?
He possibly could, couldn't he?
I'd say he has everything covered.
25th year of the book. It's brilliant. I get it every year, and it's great that they've come on board and supported the channel as well. So please do go and purchase your copy. You'll love it. You won't regret it. And hopefully it'll help you find plenty of winners. We'll see you soon. Thank you very much.